All right, welcome back to the channel. If you're a current subscriber, then you already know what is behind this garage door. And if you're coming here because of this, the title of this video, whether you should buy a diesel pickup, well, let me show you what's behind this garage door and why I decided to buy this truck as my first diesel pickup. Now, what we have here is a 2011 S250 with a 6.7 Powerstroke engine. And if you're familiar with the Powerstroke engines and you're familiar that Ford has been known for reliability with the Powerstroke in the past, with the 7.3 Powerstroke, they were known for some even reaching 1,000,000 miles and with proper maintenance, right? But your average, if you do a Google search on it, your average life expectancy out of a 7.3 Powerstroke is going to be anywhere between 400 to 500,000 miles. Now on the 6.7 Powerstroke, which we have here, even though it's been proven to be somewhat reliable for Ford, they've been using this engine to this date, right? So going on 13 years. So they've obviously, they consider this a good engine. They made a little tweaks along the way, but it's a good engine. But the life expectancy, because of modern engines and all the emissions that they have to put on it, has gone down to 200 to 300,000 miles. Now, well, hopefully that changes in the future, right, with some of the tweaks that they're doing to it. But there's a big difference, guys. I know some people will say, well, I wouldn't consider this particular truck because, I would rather go with a 7.3. But we gotta understand that the 7.3s, they're just extremely good, but they're getting older. And I remember watching a video from Powerstroke Help, which he, we know that we've lost him. He's no longer putting videos for us. He sadly died already. But I some of the content that I like watching on his videos was that he mentioned how the 7.3, the electrical system was becoming very, very hard to fix, right? Very expensive because it's just like the wiring, those vehicles get so old and you have to replace the harness, and then the ride quality, right? It's not there. So that's why now a lot of people now are starting to move up and maybe consider something like this, which is the 6.7. Now these trucks, like he mentioned, right? Also in Powerstroke Help, he mentioned that if you're not extremely aggressive on your tune, you can get really good life expectancy out of these engines. And there's a big difference too on power too, right? 275 horsepower was the 7.3, was only 525 foot-pound of torque. When you compare it to the 6.7, now we're getting 475 horsepower. You're gonna get so much more. You're gonna get so much more performance, but you can't expect it to be as reliable when you have a lot more performance, right? So why did I go with this truck? Well, it's just mainly because I had a few friends that had this truck that have said it's been very, very good to them, very reliable. And this truck, they're known to have turbo issues, but what truck isn't, right? A lot of these diesel trucks, when you put them to work and trouble, my grandpa had a '03 Ram with a Cummins engine, very, very extremely reliable engine too, but they went through turbochargers as well. And I wanted that truck actually. That truck was my grandpa's. He bought it brand new, and I got to make a road trip with my dad before he passed, and in that truck, and I remember driving it a little bit, so it had a little bit of sentimental value to me, and I wanted it. But my uncle purchased it, and he's the one that put over 500,000 miles on that truck. So, by the time it came around, it was just too old, too beat up, and that's why I didn't go with that truck. And I saw this truck, and I thought it was a good deal, and that's why I have it now. So subscribe, guys, hit that like channel, follow along. Maybe you haven't bought your truck now, you're just briefly considering your options and you want a diesel truck. And if you follow along, I'm going to show you, well, some of the videos that I already have out there. You can go to my channel and watch them. Some of the stuff that I've had to do to it, the maintenance items, what are some of the expenses, and look up, guys. I strongly suggest whatever diesel truck you're trying to buy, search that particular year, make, and model, and just put problems on YouTube and go through all those videos and see whether those are expenses that you're willing to go through. And if not, like say this is one of the vehicles you're considering, an F-250, maybe the steel body, right, 2011 to 2016. Subscribe, guys. Follow along, and I'll show you guys what it's gonna be, my scenario, what are some of the expenses I'm gonna go through. Now, if you don't need the vehicles for work, that was something I've been told in the past, and don't buy them, right? Don't buy a diesel truck if you don't need it for towing, if you don't need it for heavy work, right? But me, I bought this truck mainly as a daily driver. I do more highway miles, which is kind of a good thing, I think, in my case, so that I don't idle the vehicle too much for the EGR system, right? That's not these modern engines. That seems to be a problem. And my truck has proven to be somewhat reliable. I've seen the Carfax on it. The truck has, when I bought it, had 150,000 miles, and the truck now has 155,000 miles. So it hasn't given me any engine problem or transmission problem, but I know what I want to do. What are the future plans for this vehicle? Is I want to replace the turbos when I reach 200,000 miles, and I want to get ahead of the game, and hopefully my engine can hold up to that before any problems. But I want to replace the heads because these have been known for having some bad valves. They used to think it was the glow plugs, and then some people used to say it was the valves, or maybe it was a rod bearing. So it's one of those things where there's just plenty of videos out there that you're just not quite sure what it might be. But I remember watching one of those videos from Powerstroke Help, and him showing how he caught a truck just in time, and the valve, where the valves sit, it was just cracked in that area in the head. So I strongly believe that the weakness of these trucks is the valves, or even the valve train on top, where they get loose, and maybe that causes the valve to kind of break, or the pistons going out of timing somehow, and that causing the premature failure on these engines. So I want to get ahead of that game, and I want to hopefully get those 200,000 miles and replace those heads with new valves, the valve guides and all that on top, and at the time replace the turbocharger, and while I'm at that, also replace the EGR, so I can get hopefully another 150,000 miles out of this particular engine. So yes, I plan to hopefully, in the long term, hopefully if my finances permit, I want to keep this vehicle for longer. I want to hopefully get to those 500 to 800,000 miles if the truck will last. But I guess it's easier said, guys. I've never really kept the truck longer than 4 or 5 years, but I want to change that, right? I want to hopefully stop spending money on new vehicles, and hopefully just keep this particular vehicle for the long run. But I don't know. We'll see, guys. If this truck does become the main center of this channel, then yeah, I'll keep it for that purposes. But follow along, guys, and I'm gonna put just a few of the stuff. If you don't want to go through some of my old videos, I've just put a few of the stuff that I've had to do to this truck, mainly maintenance items on this video. And I have a video titled "Everything Wrong with My Truck," and that's mainly the checklist of the things that I started doing to fix this truck, which were mainly the rear electrical connector. The trailer connector was bad on it. I already replaced that. The windshield washer pump, I replaced that. The headlight issues, I fixed that too. It was mainly just replacing the headlights, the headlight bulbs, the hub locks. I replaced those hub locks too. I replaced the brakes. Now that one, at that time of the video, I didn't know that was going to be a problem, and I ended up my brakes having a really squeaky issue, like scraping issue, even though it was still braking good. And that's when I realized, oh wow, my brakes were shot, and that was pretty much from the beginning. So I had to put new brakes on there, along with the rotors on the front, because they were damaged. The back ones are still good, but I want to get ahead of the game and replace the brake pads while they're still good. So that's something I need to do. The truck, I need to replace, because of the mileage. I need to do the rear differential and front differential flush on it, transmission flush, or some of the things I want to do to it. But some of the other things I fixed on it, the cap mounts. The cap mounts were really bad. These trucks are known for having bad cap mounts, so I replaced that. And something that the truck wasn't really doing when I bought it. Well, it kind of was, but I didn't notice it too much at the time. Was it kind of was struggling to cool, so it would mainly cool when it was at a low fan speed. But when I would get up to high fan speeds, the AC system wasn't working very good. So I bought a evac sensor, thinking it was the issue because I saw a few YouTube videos on that, but it wasn't that. It ended up being just that the refrigerant level was low on it. So I ended up recharging it, and yeah, that took care of the problem, and it's been holding up for a few months now. So it was just that. It was just some of these trucks. I remember seeing a video on one, an F-250, that he said he does it about once a year, and the truck holds up. It's just, I think I did throw a dye on there. I need to go with the black light and check it. But more than likely, because it's such a small leak, I'm pretty sure it's just gonna be the Schrader valve little gasket O-ring that I need to replace, and then recharge the system. So I did notice the belt slightly has a little bit of cracks on there, so I want to replace the engine belt on it, and just for preventive maintenance. I already replaced the fuel filters both, and regular maintenance is something that's just normal. But what else has the truck done? I mean, the truck, guys, engine wise, transmission wise, it's proven to be good. I did put videos out there on how this truck had the EGR replaced under Ford customer care program at 147,000 miles. I've had to replace the boost controller, like the where the master flow sensor goes, like a little sensor that goes up in the intake. I forgot the name of that sensor, but yeah, I just cleaned that sensor out. But yeah, other than that, now the truck's been good. So the little bit I've had on it, the experience I've had on it, I mean, I think it's a good truck, guys. It's reliable. But if you know about Ford, I'm sure you do. You've done your research out there. They're gonna tell you just gotta be careful with the CP4 pump. That could throw your whole fuel system, down the drain, and you're gonna have to replace injectors, replace all your fuel lines, clean all that out, your fuel pump, and yeah, it can be upwards of $15,000. And your turbochargers, if you don't replace them on time, and if you don't change your oil after you replace them, you can mess up your engine too, which is another $30,000. So that's why I really, really want to do that stuff before the 200,000 miles, because I've seen trucks out there which that seems around the mileage that the engines seem to lock up 225, 210. And something I remember watching on Powerstroke Help on a YouTube channel was that, if you don't heavily tune these trucks, they'll be good to you. They will last. And another one that I saw in one of his videos was that he caught that the valves that had failed on it. So yeah, that's mainly the stuff I want to do to it. So yeah, follow along, guys. Support the channel. Hit the like and subscribe, and follow along to see what if this truck will make it to, hopefully, over the 250,000 miles. I plan to, like I said, maybe 500 to 800,000 miles. Hopefully we can get that mileage out of this truck.